So the most recent translator of all of the voyages of St. Brendan that were kind of written and translated across the Middle Ages described him as the Sinbad, the sailor of northwestern Europe. And I like the fact that you really get this sense of like literary creativity in the medieval sources about his adventures. So people listening, do pick up Glyn Burgess's collected translations of the Voyage of St. Brendan, because you just have these incredible, like if you enjoyed like C.S. Lewis and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader and all that kind of thing, you say basically in the 9th century, in the earliest sort of Irish Latin version of the Voyage of St. Brendan, he set sail from the coast of Ireland. He's an abbot of a monastery. He set sail from the west coast of Ireland off into what he would have perceived, what the contemporary writers would have perceived as the Great Ocean. So we're not imagining America at this point. And is like they let their hide-covered boat be taken by the wind and kind of God's will, and they visit all these amazing islands, and they visit the same islands year on year for 7 years. And the reason he's gone on this mad journey is to find an earthly paradise. But for ages they're just basically going in circles. And the islands that they visit are incredible. There's things like one with gigantic grapes that are so big that they can feed just one of the monks for 3 days, which is really Willy Wonka. And there's another one where they land on an island that's got a crystal monastery on it. And every morning, a flaming arrow comes in through the window and lights all the candles and the lamps in the church, and then flies out again. They see kind of sea monsters, and so at one point when they're very far to the east, I think they get maybe not east. Anyway, they're really far away, and they get circled by fish just swimming nose to tail. And so it's just, you know, all these adventures. They see an island that is just a huge tree on the island, a massive wide tree that every Easter gets covered in white birds, and the white birds sing the psalms in like human voices, and they sing particularly how joyful and wonderful it is for brothers to dwell together in unity, and they say that they're actually spirits of the air. They were fallen angels that didn't make it to hell, and they got trapped in the firmament. And each year they're allowed to become white birds and sit on this tree at Easter and sing. And so anyway, then after the 7-year round and round thing, and some of a bit also quite Willy Wonka, some of the monks that he brought with him don't make it to the earthly paradise. They get sort of sucked into volcanoes and things because they're not good enough. And then they go through a dark mist and find on the other side an earthly paradise, which was considered to be a real place. Like the first ever globe that was made in the 15th century has St. Brendan's Isles on it, so somewhere in where we would think of like Canary Islands.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then all these translations happen because it's such a popular legend, and he goes for different reasons. It might be because he's burnt a book in the monastery that has all the wonders of the world in it, and then an angel appears to him and he was like, that book was 100% true. And he's like, well, I burnt it because I thought it was a pack of lies. And he's like, no, you must now go off around the world and collect them all again and show the wonders of creation. And he, on these amazing translations, he might meet like the skeletons of giants that talk to him, or he might see the seabed is made of solid gold and glows in the dark. And yeah, so I think that Brendan for me sums up wonder and adventure, and not just actual journeys, but kind of creative journeys and creative possibilities. I think I'd like to be a nun.
A nun?
In the Middle Ages.
In any particular
in a
period?
scriptorium on sort of maybe Whitby.
Oh, quite, yeah, that'd be quite nice. I mean,
Yeah. Like around, I'd like to know Abbess Hilda, but I know, sorry, I know I'm not traveling back in time, but if maybe I could just pretend to be Abbess Hilda. But still, it would be, I think I'd want to reenact a sort of monastic scriptorium situation, and have lovely, nicely ordered paints in little oyster shells.
oh, that would be nice.
And mix it, and then do that thing where you get the yolk out of the egg and hold it like this and then pierce it and watch it drain. That's what I'd like to do.
I mean, that kind of nicely
It's
leads
like
on.
ASMR.
Oh yeah, with the watching the
Yeah.
medieval ASMR things. If you could be a fly on the wall for any medieval period or any medieval events, what do you reckon it'd be?
The first thing that came to my head when you said that is that I'd like to be a fly in a manorial hall in February to see whether the lords actually warmed their bare bums in front of the fire like they're shown doing in medieval manuscripts in February.
Just to work out, be like, it's
and
true.
How many layers they had under the fur, you know. It was really nice. And I sat next to the stores, so the office area was right next to the manuscript stores, and you could go in. There was like a sort of inner sanctum, but within the manuscript store itself, where the really special ones were. I remember walking through and sort of getting like, because old collections are grouped together, and there was one that had been rescued from a fire, not the Cotton Library one, so that's the obvious one, but another one that had been rescued from a fire. And you get like a waft of smoke as you walk past. And it's like, it is, there's the impregnated, I suppose, vellum and stuff. But it was those opportunities, like when a academic had come in and wanted to see a particular manuscript, and you get to kind of look at the Delisle Psalter or something and see those tiny brush strokes, and just the care and the time and the spirit of I think, just like it seems so hopeful. That quality of like that investment in something. The manuscript moment I had was in the Parker Library in Cambridge. I was looking at quite like a nondescript, I think it was a history of the Kings of Britain maybe, but it was lots of prose, just filling up the page, and every now and again you'd get a little decorated initial about the size of a postage stamp, and it was very bog standard, kind of red and blue, so it would have been gilded first, a little bit of gilding to show the letter, and then a little square background with a red and blue pattern, and then some little dashes of white on top just to pick out some details. And about halfway through this manuscript, like, I have forgotten the shelf mark, which is really annoying because it was years ago and I didn't know how much I'd remember it at the time. Like, keep coming back to it now. But there was at some point, they would have done the gilding first, then they would have done the red and blue background, and then they would have obviously done the white detailing. And at some point before they did the white detailing, someone came into the workshop who had a really big thumb and stuck it into the wet paint on one of these initials. And so there was just this really clear thumbprint. And they were just like, "Oh, Barry!" Like, "What have you done?" And then it dried, and then they did the white detailing. They kind of didn't. I was going to say they'd gone too far by that point to start again or something. But it was such a huge thumbprint. That it did seem like, just seemed like you get a real sense of a character behind this who had just like stuck their thumb into wet paint.
Adds a real human aspect.
I would serve Edward II because I'm most interested in his personality. I would usurp King John to get the bells ringing again. And I'd kill Richard III because he's the one left over.
Just because he's the one left?
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Can't argue with that answer.